All right, we're diving deep into one of America's most unsettling legends. This isn't just a campfire story. It's something that comes from whispers in the dark, passed down for generations. But first, I want you to really think about this. Picture it. You're driving down a dark road. You see something, but it's not quite right. What do you do? Because the choice you make could be the difference between a weird story you tell your friends and a story you never get to tell at all. So, to kick things off, we're going to look at a couple of first-hand accounts. Stories from people who came face to face with something that looked almost right, but was just so wrong. Our first story takes us to northern Arizona. Imagine this, a guy named Ethan, all by himself, camping out in the quiet of the desert. And then he gets that feeling. You know, the one where you feel like you're being watched. And sure enough, there's a deer standing right at the edge of the firelight. Pretty normal, right? Well, that's when he notices the first thing that just makes his blood run cold. Deer, they have eyes on the sides of their head. It's for spotting predators. But this deer, its eyes were set in the front of its head, staring straight at him, like a person, unblinking. That's always the first warning sign, isn't it? The eyes. So he tries to brush it off. Maybe it's just a weird genetic thing. But the next night, it's back. And this time, it's even worse. Its legs are bent all wrong, like they're on backwards. It's almost like it's trying to remember how a deer is supposed to stand and failing. And then it opens its mouth, and he sees a full set of flat, human teeth. Okay, now let's jump to a totally different story. Years later, we've got the Harper family driving through the Southwest late at night. The road is completely empty for miles until their headlights catch something, two little kids just standing there on the shoulder. The dad, Mark, he starts to slow down, of course. He's worried. But his wife, Lena, she is hit with this just primal wave of fear. Every single instinct is screaming at her that something is very, very wrong here. And what she whispers is probably what all of us would be thinking. So Mark floors it, and as they blow past, they look in the rearview mirror. The kids' bodies, they don't move, but their heads twist all the way around to keep staring at the car. And then they drop to all fours and just start chasing them, moving with this horrible, jerky, impossibly fast motion. So let's just pause and connect the dots here. We've got two totally separate stories, decades apart, but with these insane parallels. In one, you have something pretending to be an animal, but it gets the eyes and the posture all wrong. In the other, you have something pretending to be human, but its eyes and movements are just completely inhuman. The common thread here? It's an imitation, but it's not a perfect one. Now, these aren't just random, spooky encounters. These stories are describing something very specific, something that has a name and a history that's rooted deep in Navajo folklore. This being is known as a Skinwalker. Now, according to the tradition, this isn't some ghost or demon. No, it's a human, a witch who chose a very dark path. And to get the power to shapeshift, they have to do something absolutely unforgivable. And the name itself, the one who walks on all fours, well, that sounds an awful lot like what the Harper family saw, doesn't it? And shapeshifting is really just the start. The legends say they can run faster than a car. They can perfectly mimic any human voice, even the voice of someone you love, to try and lure you outside. They're said to bring sickness and bad luck wherever they go. They are, in short, masters of deception. Which brings us right back to the most important clue, the one detail that ties all of this together. In pretty much every version of the legend, the biggest giveaway is the eyes. If it looks like an animal, its eyes will look human. And if it looks like a person, its eyes will look wild, like an animal's. It's the one part of the disguise they just can't seem to get right. So why does this legend stick around? Why is it so specific? Well, to really get it, you can't just look at the stories. You have to look at the painful history it came from and a very specific piece of land where those whispers are now louder than ever. A lot of this belief was cemented back in the 1860s during an absolutely traumatic time for the Navajo people called the Long Walk. When the survivors finally came back to their lands, they were looking for an explanation for all the suffering they'd endured, and many blamed these dark witches. The fear got so bad it actually led to violent purges. Now fast forward 100 years, and this ancient fear gets a new home.
on a piece of land in Utah that local tribes had avoided for generations, believing it was a literal pathway for these things.
When a family bought this ranch in the 90s, they had no idea what they were walking into. They reported seeing a creature that looked like a giant wolf, a wolf that was completely immune to rifle shots. They'd find its tracks, and then the tracks would just stop, right in the middle of a field. On top of that, there were strange lights, cattle found mutilated with surgical precision, and a constant, heavy feeling of being watched, even inside their own home.
And you might think, okay, a scared family gets spooked. But even after they fled and a team of scientists moved in, the weirdness just kept happening. Their high-tech equipment would fail for no reason. Investigators reported feeling like something had followed them home. And yeah, they also saw figures moving around on all fours in the dark.
So what are we supposed to make of all this? You've got the personal stories, the deep folklore, the modern accounts, and they all seem to point to one single, chilling warning that's been passed down for centuries.
Now, of course, a skeptic is going to say this is all just misidentified animals and overactive imaginations. And look, that's a fair point. But the question that believers always come back with is a powerful one. If it's all just made up, then why do complete strangers, separated by decades, keep describing the exact same bizarre details? The wrong eyes, the jerky movements, the mimicry. And this is why the folklore is more than just a story. It's basically a survival guide. The rules are incredibly specific. If you hear a voice calling your name from the dark, you do not answer. If you see something that just feels wrong in your gut, you do not get closer. And if the woods around you go dead silent, that's not peaceful. That means a predator is near. This right here, this is the core of it all. The one constant in every single one of these cautionary tales is that the real danger starts the moment you engage. Your curiosity, that need to understand or to help, that's the invitation. That's what lets it in. And this is why the legend is so deeply, deeply unsettling. It's not really about a monster. It's about betrayal. The whole idea of a human choosing to give up their humanity to wear the skin of something else, it's horrifying because it messes with our most basic instinct, the ability to recognize our own kind. So I'll leave you with one last thought. The next time you're home alone at night and you hear a sound outside, a voice, a tap on the window, something that sounds almost familiar, before you go to look, just ask yourself one simple,